spiritualism has always been an integral part of our Indian culture. Sadhana has always been considered a resource to know oneself and become one with our true self. It is said that this spiritual practice or meditation is the easiest and the simplest way to lead a life full of bliss and peace. Is this way actually simple? Can anyone tread this path and lead a blissful life? Can each one of us be successful in this journey? There are numerous such questions which arise within us. How to proceed on this path? How do we deal with all the challenges that we would have to face in this journey? What is the ultimate goal of sadhana and when is it achieved? Spiritual seekers and those who wish to embark on this journey have numerous such questions in their mind which confuse them so much that some people become directionless, whereas some feel that they are not eligible for the spiritual world and finally lead an ordinary life in the material world. Due to this, a guru's guidance has always had and always will have a great importance in our tradition. Very few chosen people are fortunate enough to be blessed and live under the guidance of any pious soul, saint or a Sadguru. It is said that one gets blessed to be in the company of a Sadguru by the blessing of his or her parents and all the holy deeds of the several past births. The noble soul who loves you selflessly like a mother and educates a sadhak or a seeker about the true goals of life and makes the person realize his true self is a true Sadguru. Our most revered Sadguru, Sai Kakaji, is a great ambassador of our Indian spiritual culture. He is a unique liberated soul who preaches and practices the Siddha Yoga Shaktipat method of spiritualism. He has been carrying forward the supreme spiritual legacy of Bhagwan Nityanand and Baba Muktanand Paramhans all over the world. His devotees and followers requested Sai Kakaji to answer a few questions to clear their doubts. Sai Kakaji readily agreed so that each sadhak gets answers to all the questions, and we all proceed on this path with a clear thought process. A sincere attempt has been made to include queries from every level of spiritual seeker, and we request with our hands folded to our most revered Kakaji that he should answer all the queries so that he guides us from darkness towards the light of knowledge. We hope that this questionnaire will help our sadhak brethren all over the world to seek correct guidance, and each one of us would follow Kakaji's teachings and achieve the ultimate goal of our life. So let's absorb the teachings of our most revered Sadguru Sai Kakaji on topics like sadhana, ultimate goal in life, and self-realization. Let's be blessed by a Sadguru who is full of selfless love and compassion, and for whom people of all caste, creed or religion are equal.
Shri Gurudev Bhagwan Nityanand, Baba Muktanand and Kakaji, please throw some light on the grace and blessings of Shaktipat Parampara or tradition. And Kakaji, please also elaborate some of the speciality of the tradition.
Sadgurunath Maharaj ki jai. Under the Ganeshpuri Siddh Parampara or tradition, our Param Pujya Bhagwan Nityanand Ji is the first guru of this parampara. His incarnation took place in the Kerala state of India. He is known as a divine, exceptional, incredible and attained entity. He is a great saint of the Avadhut Koti. His presence, his very existence has been a reason of celebration for all of his sadhaks. After his incarnation and post his travels to Himalayas, he once again incarnated in Kerala. From Kerala to Kanchenjunga, it is a part of Kerala itself. Handing over the ashram that he had created himself to one of his followers, he began his journey from Kanchenjunga. Wandering here and there, he finally reached Ganeshpuri in 1934. Ganeshpuri is a small village in the Thane district. This area is primarily populated by the tribals. There had not been much of educational awareness. Life used to be very simple. If we look at their lives from the perspective of prosperity, then these people certainly had more adversities in their life than prosperity. Such primitive tribal area was the one that was chosen by Bhagwan Nityanand Ji as his workplace. In 1934, Bhagwan Nityanand Ji incarnated in Ganeshpuri. And he began with his work without informing anyone. By and by, in this primarily primitive area, he went on to set up the medical and educational facilities both in manifest and unmanifest forms with the help and support of many. And he also laid the foundation of the spiritual revolution there itself. With time, many sadhak, brothers and sisters of different levels and statures started pouring in Ganeshpuri. These bhaktas and followers, after having a darshan of the Baba, would move back to their places for the continuation of their sadhana there. And whichever ashram was made available to Baba Nityanand, he graced it and continued with the great work that he had started. Till 1961, he was the in charge of that entire region. And whatever great work happened in that entire region, because of the presence of his divine lotus feet, is clearly visible even today. In that very divine place, on 15th August 1947, my Param Puja Gurudev Baba Muktanand Paramhans got blessed by Shaktipat Diksha from Bhagwan Nityanand, wherein he instructed him to go back to his hut and begin with his sadhana there. After the Shaktipat Diksha, Baba Muktanand Paramhans continued his meditation in his hut situated in Yevla. After 9 years of non-stop meditation, he finally attained self-realization. After that, he began to experience himself as the Absolute Self. And this experience of the Absolute Self led to the infinite evolvement of the consciousness. That Ma Bhagavati Tripura Sundari Chitti Swarupini Anugrahika Shakti directed him, and through his medium began the enormous noble practice of spreading Shaktipat in the entire world. This happened with the direction from Bhagwan Nityanand. My Baba Muktanand Paramhans Ji continued with this everlasting and divine practice till 1982. After discarding their physical bodies and merging with that eternal light, the noble practice that these two great souls have started with their divine presence is ongoing even today for the entire humanity and is very much active the world over. It was with their inspiration and their blessings that we all sadhak brothers and sisters are actively taking this noble practice ahead. In the scriptures, this is what is called Panthraj, this is what is called Siddhi Yoga, this is what is called Kundalini Yoga, this is called Shaktipat, as well as Divya Diksha Pranali, by medium of which the energy gets awakened inside the body, and after the cleansing of 72,000 naris inside the physical body, Bhagavati Tripura Sundari becomes active inside the Mooladhar. Mooladhar Chakra, Swadhishthan Chakra, Manipuri Chakra, Anahad Chakra, Vishuddha Chakra and Agya Chakra are all crossed and getting active in the Sahasradhar Chakra. After the cleansing of the entire physical body, she merges in her true form in the cosmic existence. This is what the sadhak brothers and sisters refer to as spiritual journey. And with this very destination in mind, all the sadhak brothers and sisters begin their inner journey, which finally comes to a culmination when they all merge into their true form. In the world, when great incarnations decide to grace the earth by taking birth here, then it so happens that their inner elements are experienced as tattva. When we will try to look at them through our limited scheme of understanding, we'll find that one of them happens to be Nityanand Tattva and the other one as Muktanand Tattva. Both these names are very different, but when it comes down to experience, they are one, non-dual. This is the one that is reflected inside your very own self, and this is what is reflected in the transcendental, omnipresent, beyond the world Guru Tattva also. And this is what is reflected in the supreme power. It's by the selfless grace and the divine blessings of the Guru only that the spiritual life of a sadhak begins. The light of a Guru illuminates the lives of the sadhaks, who all finally merge into their Sadguru. This life of utter gratefulness is accomplished by the divine blessings of these great souls. Sadguru is to be remembered every morning. He is divine. He is a source of bliss, a source of celebration. He is the very peak of bliss. And it is because of his blessings only that the sadhak attains the Nityananda Tattva. Every sadhak attains the Muktananda Tattva. And through the medium of these tattvas, he gets beyond the tattvas and attains his self-bliss. This is Nityananda Darshan. This is Muktananda Darshan. Through the medium of this darshan, one attains one's self-bliss, and being in one's personal bliss, the individual merges into the cosmic bliss. This is our destination, and by the esteemed divine blessings of the Sadguru, this is the birthright of all the sadhak brothers and sisters. As long as they don't execute this right, don't bring it into action, till then our lives are just futile. To make our lives meaningful, Guru's grace is essential. Surrendering to the Guru is essential. So, along with this humble and heartfelt prayer, we request His Holiness our Sadguru that with His immense blessings, we ask for His grace to merge into His true self. We ask for His abundant blessings so that we can merge into His true form, so that we may realize our true self. This is the prayer that we offer to our Sadguru. This very is his eternal and boundless form. Sadguru Nath Maharaj ki jai.
Kakaji, Sai Baba's basic mantra is Shraddha and Saburi. Some seekers have the curiosity to know how this mantra is useful for meditation and our core values, or the sanskar. Please throw some light on this.
When sadhaks reach this state of realization, they are known as Siddh. When such Siddh divine souls reincarnate themselves in this world, they bless their followers in the form of special grace with some tattvas or attributes. Shraddha and Saburi are those attributes which are a personification of Sai Baba. The presence of these attributes within us clearly symbolizes that Bhagwan Sri Sai Baba himself has manifested within us. Shraddha and Saburi are his divine words, which he bestowed on everyone in his true self. The meaning of Shraddha is, till the time you will not be devoted to your own inner self, you will not be in a position to experience God in the real sense. Real faith in God is a true sign of devotion. Devotion transforms into worship, and worship transforms into love. And when love becomes transcendental, beyond the world and omnipresent, there is an extreme transformation of that tattva within us, whose mere presence is enough for the welfare of the world.
Should then this be assumed, Kakaji, that in this context, the completely mature element or tattva is bliss and sheer bliss?
Enlightened souls are a personification of bliss itself.
Kakaji, what was Sai Baba's connection or relation with the Shaktipat Parampara or tradition? Please throw some light on this.
After attaining realization, no divine soul is limited to any tradition, sect, or religion.
And what about their condition before attaining realization, Kakaji?
Before attaining realization, their state is that of a seeker. The state of seeking progresses into a state of realization, and that finally leads to Siddhatva.
Kakaji, Bade Baba Bhagwan Nityanand was Jan Siddh. Please elaborate on this.
Bhagwan Nityanand was Janma Siddh because we don't have any details about his birth and any other information. Just like Anandamayi Ma is Janma Siddh, similarly Bhagwan Nityanand is also Janma Siddh.
Kakaji, some seekers have this curiosity as to what is Deha Siddhi and how can a Siddha Guru be helpful in the progress of seeker's journey of self-realization?
From the perspective of the world, the body is considered to be matter, and those yoga traditions in which this physical body is converted into consciousness and transformed into divine body are called Deha Siddhi traditions.
Kakaji, Guru Nanak Ji emphasized on the practice of seva. Some seekers have this curiosity that how is seva connected to one's spiritual progress? Can you please elaborate on this?
Baba Nanak blessed his devotees and disciples in the form of his teachings that we call Seva Bhav. The result of Seva Bhav is that we surrender ourselves to the Guru Tattva. Through the medium of mind, intellect, consciousness, and ego, and through their help, these four elements are activated and shown the light of knowledge and established in their true form.
Kakaji, one seeker has the curiosity to know what is the difference between a Manav Guru and a Ishwar Guru.
Bhagwan Krishna, Bhagwan Ram, Dattatreya, all these are Ishwar Gurus. Vashishta, Vishwamitra, and other great rishis, they are Manav Gurus.
Kakaji, have the Manav Gurus and Ishwar Gurus been helpful in supreme well-being of the humanity similarly?
Both are the same elements. The only thing is that one of them, during his course of action, becomes more connected with the society, and they are called Manav Gurus, which incarnate for a specific purpose, and after its accomplishment, they move back to their celestial spaces. They are known as Dev Gurus, Sadgurus who have attained Devatva.
Kakaji, who do we call a sadhak?
The one who has started trying to seek himself, that who am I, what is this world around, and what exactly is my connection with this world. He who is trying to find an answer to these questions and is trying to understand his inner self is called a sadhak. The one who is trying to attain himself is a sadhak.
So, those people who are doing scientific research, are they not sadhaks?
They are also sadhaks, only their direction of sadhana is little different. They are trying to understand themselves through the medium of science. They are also sadhaks.
So, the primary definition of a sadhak is one who is trying to find or know himself. Can somebody who is trying to know something else not be referred to as a sadhak?
No, the meaning of sadhak is someone who is trying to attain himself, trying to know his real self. A scientist is also a sadhak because he is trying to know his true self through science. A time will come when the limits of advancement of science will be realized. Man will start trying to find his true self through inner science. The only difference between inner and outer science is that of direction or orientation and nothing else.
Kakaji, it is said that sadhana is a journey from the finite to the infinite. That means, as by and by we keep acquiring knowledge, boundaries keep falling, and we move on towards infinity. Does knowledge also has a limit?
The knowledge sitting on the very limits of mind, intellect, consciousness and ego through analytical research transforms into science, or what we usually refer to as common science, where science gets enclosed within the confines of logic and is unable to move beyond that realm. Rather, its very purpose ceases to exist. Therein appears the inner science. Our modern science is not yet fully equipped with the measuring devices or gadgets which can analyze and interpret what all is going on within our subtle bodies. So far, the modern science has not been able to invent such equipment which can record or comprehend these experiences occurring on a subtle level. If it can happen someday, then the scientists will also be sadhaks. Their direction and their effort will be to understand quantum, to be able to comprehend human memory. Everyone is trying to realize their true self. Scientists try to understand this through their ways and resources. The point where scientific logic ends, the inner science begins. A sadhak straightaway tries to understand and realize himself through inner science.
Kakaji, a lot of people are doing sadhana. They are seekers. Everybody has their own individual goals. But as far as knowing, attaining, or realizing oneself is concerned, people often feel confused. Can you please throw some light on this?
To know myself means finding out what my real self is. When I say that my mind is not in the right state or is restless today, it means that I know that my mind is separate from my own self. My brain is either less active today or is hyperactive. Then also I know that my brain is separate from me. Either it is less active or is hyperactive or is not at all active. In the similar way, someday I can feel that Today, my consciousness is feeling little disabled. It's little wavering. It's in anguish. It's in pain. At the same time, I know that my consciousness is separate from me. That is in anguish. Sometimes I think that someone just crushed over my ego. Then also I realize that it's separate. That is what is being hurt. So if I'm not mind, intellect, consciousness and ego, then what is my true self? Who am I? When I seek answers to these questions, so that I can be on my personal quest and search, this is what is referred to as the state of sadhak. And when you realize that you cannot know yourself through the medium of mind, intellect, consciousness and ego, because these resources are themselves very incomplete, then starts the search for boundless and perennial resources. The secret behind this is that the life element within us imbibed with the values becomes consciousness. The life element imbibed with values contemplating becomes mind. The life element imbibed with values taking decisions becomes intellect, and the life element imbibed with values feeling its own identity becomes ego. But when these values or these worldly impressions cease to exist, then the life element that remains behind is absolutely pristine, pure, it's transcendental, beyond the world, omnipresent. Experiencing this alone is self-realization. It is knowing yourself, and once you have known yourself, you become centered in yourself.
Kakaji, all around the world, many people are trying to know about or find about different tattvas or elements in a scientific way, like in chemistry or nuclear physics or in astrophysics. People are trying to find out about the elements in their own way. Is this not an approach to find one's own self, one's real self?
The very effort to know the elements is an effort to know yourself only, because the elements and you are not separate.
So those who are trying to do research on science, or for that matter any research, they're also trying to know about certain elements or tattva.
The medium of the scientists is matter or substance. What they perceive as gross matter, their science begins with knowing that gross matter, and it goes all the way up to finding the core of the entire universe. Dr. Stephen Hawking mentions in reference to his famous string theory that while he was researching on the analysis of the third dimension, he discovered the fact that this approach of third dimension will not be able to discover the fourth dimension. Then he finally accepted the consciousness dimension, and through its very medium he tried to establish his string theory. So a scientist like Dr. Stephen Hawking also kept on going with the science of matter, with the gross matter, and through the medium of quantum physics and quantum mechanics he found out that there are various other uncertainties and many probabilities, and scientists all over the world are really trying relentlessly and anxiously to be able to understand the form of the quantum, but they are unable. Their efforts are directed towards knowing the quantum memory, about its form, and to what extent can we be able to understand it through the medium of quantum jump. This exercise is going on. Although all of this is in very primary stage as of now, but in spite of being science, we are hopeful that such scientists will be able to do what the rishis or the sages have been doing and will be able to establish it scientifically. And it is highly probable that they will be successful. Kalai tasmai namah, time has its own vital role. Consciousness is beyond time and is within time also. Consciousness is our true self, is transcendental, omnipresent, is supreme authority. Nothing at all is impossible for this supreme authority. It is through his medium and grace that even the scientists will continue to work on this, and a day will come and they will establish this and will be able to find their true self. And in this way, a scientific formation is hopeful of getting a better perspective and its validity can be further enhanced. Efforts are made to establish scientific facts in science laboratories, and the feeling of our own being is experienced within ourselves, within our inner subtle body. There is an inner laboratory and there is an outer laboratory. In the outer laboratory, matter is the medium that is used to find our true self, and in the inner laboratory, consciousness is the medium to find our true self.
Kakaji, scientists, according to their way, explain the cause of the origin of this universe. What is the cause of the universe according to the Siddhas or the Rishis of Indian tradition?
There is only one reason for the creation of the universe, ekvam bhavasyam, the instinct to multiply or grow in numbers. This is the only reason for the creation of the universe and nothing else. The Supreme Authority had to experience its infinite form by becoming manifold without altering its non-dual attribute, and that is why the beginning of the creation of the universe began, and it is still going on.
So, what should a seeker do so as he can have this experience on its own?
There is not much difference between the sadhak's internal universe and this universe outside, because when the Supreme Authority places itself in the source of origin, then it is nirgun nirakar. It has no existence at all, which means that it cannot be experienced, it cannot be even visible. Neither can it be expressed. It is nirgun, it is nirakar. Such nirgun nirakar form, when takes a vow of ekovam bhavasyam, then with the very first explosion, Shiv and Shakti emerge. Shiv merges inside the Shakti, and Shakti begins the act of creation of the universe. This act and what the scientists are researching on regarding the creation of the universe both have the same goal and the same cause.
Kakaji, you just spoke about ekovam bhavasyam. So then, in this sequence or context, the Almighty also appears as the universe. Then can Almighty also keep changing?
The Almighty is unchangeable. The Supreme Authority is consistent. It always remains perpetual. But as far as the Shakti is concerned, the Shakti is changeable. The very center of origin, the Bindu, is unchangeable. The vibrations are changeable. The vibrations occurring in the center, those certainly are changeable. And that changes the supreme creation.
So if the Almighty is unchangeable, if the nature is changeable, this world is changeable, then how is the Almighty experienced in this world? How is He seen in this world?
The thing is that wherever there is unchanging element, then through its very medium and association, its very help, through its cooperation, the changing element comes in the world. You are not able to see electricity, but the moving fan is visible. You know that the tube light is lit up, the oven is on, the TV is on. Through the functioning of these appliances, you know that electricity is there. And when there is no electricity, then your TV is shut off, your tube is shut off, your fan is shut off. The fan stops running. The center and the source of the origin is the Supreme Authority. Through the medium of this Supreme Authority, the various resources get illuminated and also dissolve into darkness. The absence of light is darkness, and through the medium of light only, the universe is created and it is illuminated as well.
In this very sequence, Kakaji, we would like to know one more thing, that everyone in this world experiences both happiness and sorrow. What is the definition of happiness and sorrow? Because, as we know, everyone in the world experiences them both.
Both happiness and sorrow are the feelings that we experience relative to the mind, intellect, consciousness, and ego.
Kakaji, talking from the perspective of worldliness and godliness, are happiness and sorrow both same or different?
From the perspective of worldliness and godliness, godliness has neither happiness nor sorrow, whereas worldliness has both of them. Its resources are mind, intellect, consciousness, and ego. And through their very medium, we have the comparative study, comparative experience of both these different attributes. In comparison to the sorrow, when the happiness is more, then we feel happy. It's like that. And when in comparison to the sorrow, the happiness is less, then we feel sad. But in spirituality, there is nothing like happiness and sorrow, because in the realm of spirituality, mind, intellect, consciousness, and ego have no existence. There it's sheer bliss, and to experience sheer bliss, one doesn't need mind, intellect, consciousness, and ego. It is self-manifested, and you can experience it yourself. It is absolute bliss, and that absolute bliss being your own true self, it does not need any other medium.
Kakaji, after happiness and sorrow, we come to bliss. What is the basis or foundation of bliss?
Bliss or Anand is the own true self of that supreme authority. Sat means to be in the 3 stages of time, Chit means to know yourself and the others, and Anand is your true nature. For example, there is an ornament of gold. It has brilliance, it is yellow, and it is malleable. These are its natural characteristics. In the same way, the natural aspects of the Supreme Authority are Sat, Chit, and Anand. And you cannot segregate these 3 different aspects. This is Supreme Authority. And the subtle form of that Supreme Authority is your own true self.
So that means both are one.
They both are one.
After happiness and sorrow, the bliss that follows that you talked about, kindly explain it a bit more. What is bliss?
Anand can only be experienced, it cannot be explained. Neither explained nor understood. It is beyond words, you can only experience Anand. If you consume jaggery or sugar, there is no explanation of the amount of sweetness present in it. You can only have the experience of sweetness, not the experience of the extent of sweetness.
But that sweetness gives us pleasure and happiness. That's why we can understand it.
That sweetness gives you happiness, but at times it also is a source of your sorrow. But when it comes to Anand, it is liveliness, self-manifested, and your very nature. There is no benchmark for it. Anand is infinity.
That means bliss is limitless.
Anand is infinity, there is no benchmark for infinity.
So this means we cannot measure bliss. It is limitless.
You can measure happiness, you can measure your sorrow, but you cannot measure Anand. It is self-manifested.
So is there no possibility, no gadget, no device which can be helpful in measuring it or knowing about it?
No, you yourself are a form of Anand, so there is no logic in measuring it. There is no measurement of infinity. You can only measure the finite entities of the world and not the boundless existence. It is beyond measurement. Anand is also boundless existence, so there is no measurement possible for it. Sat is boundless existence, Chit is boundless existence. So being boundless, there is no benchmark for Sat, Chit and Anand, and hence you cannot measure them.
In the sequence of bliss comes love. What is love? How can we understand love? Is there bliss in love? Please elaborate on this.
Anand is inherent in love. Anand is a form of love. Both are one and the same, and the entire world is in search of this phenomena.
So then love can be measured, Kakaji?
No, you cannot measure love because it is a subject of experience. So measuring its length, breadth and depth is not possible.
For love, one does need a person or an object for sure, Kakaji.
A person or object can be a medium of the expression of love, but that person or object is not love. Love can be expressed through the medium of a person or an object, but the person or object is not love.
Kakaji, when we talk about Savikalp Samadhi, what exactly is Vikalp in it?
In Savikalp Samadhi, the Vikalp is your very own self. Vikalp is the one who wants to know it, who wants to understand, who wants to go through that experience. That only is the Vikalp. That is why there is only pure consciousness, and you try to experience this consciousness, and the fact is that you try to experience it along with your Vikalp, because by being Nirvikalp, you will remain in the state of Anand, in the state of Sat, Chit, Nirgun and Nirakar. You will not experience it anymore, because you yourself will become the experience. There you cannot comprehend it without the Vikalp. In Nirvikalp, in Asampranya, there is no information, just your being is enough. Your being is a source of Anand, your being is a source of Chit, and your being is a source of Sat. Sat, Chit and Anand is manifested as Nirgun and Nirakar and is experienced in Asampranya Samadhi. From there, when the Supreme Authority descends and reaches the state of Turiya, you feel one with the consciousness, and this experience of consciousness is wavering. It's vibrating. That is why the Vikalp is wavering in nature, and you experience the consciousness in its true form, in the form of waves, in the form of Anand Lahari.
Kakaji, does wisdom dawn upon one in Savikalp Samadhi or Nirvikalp Samadhi?
That you are Nirgun Nirakar, this wisdom dawns upon you in Asampranya Samadhi. This realization happens when you are in a state of Asampranya Samadhi. That you are Sagun Sakar, this wisdom dawns upon you in Turiya, in Savikalp Samadhi. The meaning of Savikalp is to experience Sat, Chit and Anand in terms of their virtues.
Ji Kakaji. Kakaji, what is the exact meaning of Samadhi?
Being centered in oneself when one's realization is Samadhi. Samadhi is not a lifeless stage. It's full of wisdom, it's full of consciousness, and it's full of bliss. One is absolutely alert in it. It is not a state of sleep.
Ji, then what is the meaning of Bhav Samadhi, Kakaji?
The meaning of Bhav Samadhi is that your wave of bliss reaches its climax or peak, and it is ever wavering in its nature. These ripples create the different bhavas which finally get transformed into Mahabhav. This is called Maharas in Vaishnav Shastra.
Okay, Kakaji. Does that mean that Bhav Samadhi is the one that takes us to Savikalp condition finally?
Yes, once they move beyond the realm of intellect, the behavior of the saints is absolutely dominated by the bhavas. Through the medium of bhav, Bhagwan and Bhakt appear as dual entities. The merging of bhav and the demerging of bhav is what remains as their sole expression. That is why in Nirvikalp, Bhav Samadhi is not possible. In Savikalp, Bhav Samadhi is possible. And in Savikalp only, those bhavas are felt, and merging and demerging is also felt.
So that means in Bhav Samadhi or Savikalp Samadhi, mind, intellect, consciousness and ego are present?
Their mind, intellect, consciousness and ego are not impure anymore. They are absolutely pure, pure and pristine. It's just a matter of intensity.
Right. But why is it so, Kakaji?
Because even though gold may be 24 karat pure, still we consider its purity as 99.9999% only and not 100%. In the same way, in Savikalp, consciousness is experienced as Sat, Chit and Anand. There, mind, intellect, consciousness and ego are experienced in their absolutely pure and pristine form. Now the ego is not impure, not an identification with the physical body. I am the world, I am transcendental, I am beyond the world. This is the purest form of ego. Pure ego is almighty, impure ego is physical body.
Kakaji, in this context, we would like to know that in Savikalp Samadhi and Nirvikalp Samadhi, who is the one who experiences the experiencer?
In both the samadhis, Nirvikalp Samadhi, Asampranya Samadhi, Sarvikalp Samadhi, and Sagun Samadhi, the experiencer is the real true self.
So this means that Kakaji, there is no mind there?
In Nirvikalp Samadhi, there is no mind, intellect, and consciousness, only a sense of absolute being. It is a state of bliss, a state of consciousness, and being ever present.
Right, Kakaji. There is one more question, Kakaji, that this self-research work of ours remain consistent and keep progressing. What to do about this?
To have the inner research and the meditation continue consistently, there has to be an intense desire to know one's real self. There should be no procrastination. One should be single-mindedly pursuing a goal with absolute dedication. Only then can the inner research continue. One will develop interest in meditation, and finally attaining one's goal will be easier.
Kakaji, you spoke about this intensity in this research. Kindly explain that how can one bring this intensity inside us?
The dedication inside one has to be absolutely intense. I will narrate an anecdote. It so happened that once a seeker came to Bhagwan Ramakrishna Paramhans. He said, Bhagwan, you've surely witnessed the Supreme Authority, the Almighty. Can I too have a glimpse of the same? To this Ramakrishna ji replied, Of course I can do so. Tomorrow when I go to the river Ganga for my bath, you come and meet me there. So the next day when Ramakrishna ji went to the Ganga, the seeker was also present there. He was standing afar, so Ramakrishna ji called out, You cannot witness the Almighty from such a distance, you need to come nearer. So the seeker came over and stood near Bhagwan Ramakrishna Paramhans. Ramakrishna ji told him, Now you need to observe me carefully and do exactly as I do. Ramakrishna ji took a dip in the water, and he also took a dip. Ramakrishna ji then came on the surface, took a dip again. He also took a dip again. Now Ramakrishna ji instantly came up to the surface and grabbed him by his head and pushed him under the water. And he pushed him so intensely and for so long that the seeker eventually pushed Ramakrishna ji and stood back. He said, What are you doing? Are you trying to kill me or what? To this Ramakrishna ji asked, For as long as you were under the water, what was your desire? What was your only goal in your mind? The seeker replied, Only to remain alive. To this, Ramakrishna ji said, You even tossed me aside, such intense was your desire. This very dedication, when awakens inside you for the Almighty, that will be the day you will realize your own true self. There is a dearth of such dedication. And because it is not there, we have all the ifs and buts and all kinds of procrastinations. Suppose you sit for meditation today for an hour. Tomorrow you will feel like, okay, I'll do it tomorrow, or maybe day after tomorrow. By and by, this 1 hour meditation session comes down to 0 minutes eventually. And this is what leads to dilly-dallying. And this attitude is what creates distance from one's own self, because mind, intellect and consciousness do not like to make efforts and undergo any pain.
Kakaji, breathing or pran is vital for one's being alive. So why does it not appear to be important?
The thing is that the day you will feel the importance of realizing your true self is as crucial as breathing or being alive. That will be the day when your sadhana will become consistent. Right now, the life element is driving your body. You are not feeling any curiosity as to find out who you are and what is your true self. What is the purpose of your coming in this world? Because you are more contented with your worldly happiness and sorrows. You have no desire for the bliss. You are looking for bliss in a cup of tea or in sweets or maybe in clothes. But there you will find only pleasure, not bliss. And as long as you don't have the intense desire to seek that bliss, your search remains meaningless.
Kakaji, it all comes back to the same thing. That is there bliss in pleasure or not?
Bliss is there in pleasure, but its presence is very momentary. And when there is an excess of pleasure, it leads to sorrow. and there is no bliss at all.
Kakaji, is it possible to have the grace of the Guru in one's childhood so that the dedication grows intense?
If someone is a blessed one, if he can have the grace of the Guru in the early years of life, then he will have this dedication arise in him. Otherwise, why do people renunciate their worldly life? Gondalekar Maharaj left everything and went out in search of his Guru when he was just 6. Sri Krishna Saraswati left everything when he was 8 or 9 years old and went out in search of his Guru. He left because of his dedication and attained himself. In the Indian culture and tradition, there have been 3 great saints who had been Siddhas by the age of 13. One is Gondalekar Maharaj, one is Eknath Maharaj, who had become Siddhas by the age of 13.
Kakaji, who is the third saint? Please tell us about him.
Sant Gyaneshwar Maharaj was one who became Siddha at a very young age.
But Kakaji, these great saints have come in this world with that very purpose. But how can a common or an ordinary seeker continue his research and his search?
The day intense dedication awakens inside, an ordinary seeker isn't ordinary anymore.
Kakaji, we would like to know what should a seeker or a sadhak do so that his intense dedication awakens inside him.
Till the day you develop an intense love for your ultimate goal, this journey will be very slow-paced. Till that day, this journey is not going to flourish. That is why those who attain liberation and for whom this is going to be the last birth, if we look at their previous lives, then this attempt, this series of efforts becomes a pinnacle, and that is what leads to their attainment in this last birth.
Did something similar happen with Maharshi Raman too?
Bhagavan Raman Maharshi had this curiosity to know what is death at the age of 9. So he made his physical body absolutely still, and just before the moment of death, he was able to finally enter within his true self. And the result of this was that he was able to attain a Sampranya Samadhi. He was also 13 years old. Raman Maharshi had become Siddha by the age of 13.
This means, Kakaji, that there appears to be no external way of intensifying this dedication. Or is there some way that one can utilize?
Unless you have that dedication awaken inside you, which is so intense, a thirst which is so acute that without quenching it, the life virtually seems impossible, till then you cannot have that burning desire. Dedication is essential. When it so happens that without it your life starts seeming incomplete and partial, and that same question keeps echoing in your mind, who am I? It's only then that you become alert and conscious about it, and only one goal remains. The madness that an alcoholic feels for his dose of alcohol, if you have that same passion towards knowing the Almighty and your very own true self, you will achieve your ultimate goal.
Does that mean that even meditation is kind of madness, Kakaji?
It is a madness, just like an alcoholic not getting his dose of alcohol, or say a cigarette smoker not getting his cigarette, or someone addicted to tea not getting it may turn mad. If this madness reaches its peak and turns towards knowing the supreme authority or yourself, then you will attain your realization. Then you need not do anything else.
Kakaji, there is one more question. Before getting Diksha, the meditation or sadhana a seeker goes through, what's its significance? Is it some way helpful in arriving at the point of Diksha?
Before getting Diksha, whatever efforts are made, they create a helpful and favorable situation for getting the Diksha when the right time comes. All your chanting, your worship, your rites and rituals prepare you mentally and psychologically and infuse some mental notions in you, and then your gross body, your subtle body and your causal body prepare the capability inside you to be able to accept the supreme knowledge and the power. Only then does the Diksha happen. So all the efforts or the sadhana that someone has put in, they all become useful, they become preparatory, helpful, which all make way for the Diksha practice to take place.
Kakaji, the Diksha that one receives or unconditional grace, is it related to one's destiny or can it happen outside his destiny as well?
The grace is unconditional. You can get it whether it is there in your destiny or not. If you realize the grace, then it really does not matter whether it is in your destiny or not.
So it is not essential that one will get Diksha if it is in his destiny only.
No, it is unconditional grace. There is no condition. It may occur without it being there in your destiny.
Kakaji, after the Diksha, after the blessings of the Guru, we begin meditation. What is it that one needs to focus during meditation? Where should one focus one's concentration?
The goal of meditation is you. When you are in search of your own true self, we are connected with our pran. If we start to focus on our breaths, by and by the mind itself starts getting under our control. The mind is connected with the pran. If the pran is turbulent, the mind is turbulent. If the mind is stable, the pran is stable. When we begin our meditation, we begin by focusing on our breathing. So our aim is to become one with our breaths. And with this focused breathing, we experience this divine light as a sphere of luminance and an object. This is the beginning of meditation. What is easy and effortless? Your pran is easy and effortless, your breathing is easy and effortless, because you don't have to pay anything for that. You have already paid the price if you are breathing. You have already paid the price for this life if you are breathing. This is its very price.
Kakaji, in meditation, when we concentrate or focus on our breathing, we often notice that there are many random thoughts, many turbulent thoughts that distract our mind.
If you are experiencing thoughts during your meditation, do not worry about them at all. Don't be afraid of those thoughts. If the road is there, there will be traffic and there is a level to it. In peak hours, there will be heavy traffic, and in low hours, there may not be any traffic at all. So do not fight with the thoughts, do not quarrel with the thoughts, but at the same time, don't get entangled with them. Thoughts will come and they will go, so do not worry about it. Mind, intellect and consciousness, which are used to think and contemplate on the worldly persons and objects, it will not be easy for it to leave all that behind just like that. By and by it happens. With time it will be able to free itself. The amount of time it takes for a city to flourish, it takes a lot lesser time for its demolition.
Kakaji, in meditation, one often faces continuous obstacles. What can one do to ensure the meditation remains regular?
If the dedication is consistent, one can be in regular meditation. For this, Guru Dhyan is the best meditation. We know that the Guru Tattva is transcendental, beyond the world, omnipresent. And because of this Tattva being omnipresent, when you focus on it while being in your daily routine, your meditation is consistent. You are working in offices. If you can consider that also as Guru Dhyan, you need not sit for meditation or Dhyan separately. Whatever you are doing in your office, that also becomes meditation. We treat our work as just work. We are working for getting paid. This thinking of ours is what keeps us limited. It is what makes us small and petty. There is no selfless service in it. You will be getting paid, no doubt. You will be getting your salary on the 31st. But if you can work with no expectations, with full integrity, and with complete honesty, then I tell you that the joy that you will get out of it will be far more than your salary. And once you start experiencing that joy, you also start to acknowledge the divine glory of that supreme authority.
But Kakaji, one cannot be in meditation while doing karmas.
Karma does not lead to pain and sorrow. One should do such karma which brings us joy, which leads to happiness. That karma doesn't remain karma anymore. It becomes a karma. Then there is no expectation of the result also. The result will come of its own accord. That result is fulfilling and it turns inwards and leads you on the path of your meditation.
Kakaji, there are many sadhaks or seekers who, even though they have been meditating for quite a while, there doesn't seem to be a visible change in their behavior. What is the reason that their behavior remains unchanged, Kakaji?
It is pretty simple that if a seeker is doing meditation for years on end, but still that meditation doesn't reflect in their behavior, the reason is that they consider the meditation and their behavior as two different entities. Meditation reflects its own evidence. Even if you have been meditating for years but your anger hasn't depleted, even after all these years, if your disrespect and hatred hasn't gone, it means you haven't been meditating but cheating yourself. For example, if someone sprinkles some water on the soil ought to get wet. Even if after the sprinkling of the water the soil doesn't get wet, then either there is some defect in the water or in the soil. If you have been genuinely meditating, then there has to be some positive effect on your mind, intellect, and consciousness. And if your meditation is being done with full integrity, is being done with full honesty, then every single pore of your body will reflect the positive results. You need not call someone else to come over and validate it. The people around you will experience it. People will start liking you and getting attached to you and will like to be in your company, to experience the positive vibes from you. Then you can be sure your meditation is going in the right direction. The mere feeling of your presence brings joy and happiness to people. It means that your meditation is progressing. If we place a utensil on the flame without pouring milk in it, then the utensil is likely to be burnt. The milk will not get burnt at all because it is still not there in it. If the milk is not there, how is it going to get a boil and rise to the top? The utensil can get burnt.
Kakaji, what is the evidence that one's meditation is going in the right direction?
See, the biggest evidence of your meditation going in the right direction is your calming down. Your mind, your intellect, your consciousness will calm. They will be centered, they will get stabilized. You will feel a wave of bliss emerging inside you. And all these are symbolic of the fact that your meditation is going right. Your business is doing well, that means your profit ratio is increasing. Or are you in a loss? If your shares are rising in the share market, that clearly means that your business is flourishing. Sadhguru Nath Maharaj ki Jai.